From the church to the internet, the pro-life movement of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. The average pro-life activist is a 34-year-old unmarried white male. If it is a woman, she has been pregnant at least once. He or she is most likely Catholic and believes the Bible should be followed closely. He or she is opposed to legal abortion, except in cases to save the life of the mother, fetal tissue research, and assisted suicide. He or she is also Republican and opposes feminist organizations such as Planned Parenthood. To assess the history of the pro-life movement, I used only secondary sources, which consisted predominantly of historical books. Such books were helpful because they were able to provide detailed accounts of chronological events surrounding the movement. The pro-life movement ultimately began as a moral crusade. During the 1960s and 1970s, approximately 80% of those involved were Catholic. This was primarily because anti-abortion sentiments fit in perfectly with Catholic views, which stressed the importance of family and motherhood. Throughout the late 1970s and into the 80s, the movement shifted out of the church and became a social movement. A social movement is characterized by a group of people who hold one generalized belief and seek to spread that belief to remedy a societal flaw. Around the same time, pro-lifers began to realize that polite tactics were failing. As a result, they turned to more radical activist strategies, such as outlandish protests, threatening clinic employees, and establishing crisis pregnancy centers, which exist to persuade pregnant women to choose life. Throughout the 1980s to the 1990s, a sense of spiritual decline in the U.S. led to revivalists joining the movement. Revivalists were strongly dependent on Christian beliefs. While social movement activists believed the solution to legal abortion was in the political realm, revivalists believed the only solution was to spread their religious ideology to others. Though the election of pro-choice President Bill Clinton was a disappointment to many pro-life advocates, there were still several pro-life politicians in Washington, as well as a predominantly Republican Congress. The election of Clinton was not so much an obstacle for the movement, but a wake-up call, and pro-lifers became as active as ever. To analyze popular pro-life tactics of yesterday and today, I used mainly primary sources, such as websites, pamphlets, blogs, photographs, and news articles. By utilizing materials put out by pro-life organizations themselves, I was able to find out which strategies are becoming increasingly popular and which ones are becoming obsolete. A tactic that has always been and still is popular is the use of language. Coining the label pro-life is very clever because it forces people to assume that the opposing side must be pro-death. Other strategic phrases have been claimed by pro-life activists. For example, fetus or zygote becomes baby or child, abortion clinic becomes death chamber, doctor becomes murderer or abortionist, clinic escorts become death escorts, and abortion becomes murder or slaughter. Another ever-popular tactic is the use of rallies and picketing. Life Chain, for example, is an annual event involving thousands of activists. Protests give pro-lifers a sense of unity, and religious activists are particularly pleased because rallies often incorporate singing and prayer. A particularly prominent strategy is using graphic images and photographs. This is a famous pro-life photo in which the fetus appears to be gripping onto the hand of the doctor. Graphic photos exist to convey to people how gruesome abortion can be. This is why protesters will often put such photos on signs that they hold outside abortion clinics. They are hoping that women entering the clinic will see the photos and make a last-minute decision to not have an abortion. Electing pro-life politicians is a strategy more recently embraced by the movement. Activists hope that by having politicians represent their interests in Washington, there is a greater chance of laws being passed to restrict abortion rights.
There are people in this world right now who are looking for directions on what do we do. Well, what we do is we do what Paul Hill did. We end abortion on demand by the most direct means available to us. So stop the abortion with a bullet if that's what it takes. Stop it with a bomb if that's what it takes. Whatever it takes, you stop abortion on demand.
Though it is a strategy condemned by most pro-life activists, violence has been used in the past to push the anti-abortion agenda. Pensacola, Florida is a particular site that has seen several bombings of abortion clinics by radical activists. In 1994, Paul Hill shot and killed Dr. Britton and his escort James Barrett in front of a clinic in Pensacola.
You're a big man, aren't you? Real big man. Come on, Dad, please.
Get out my face, scumbag.
Save the
You
baby.
can be a dad, man. It doesn't hurt, you know. It's not painful. You want to play ball with that baby one day. Please don't let her do this.
What time is your appointment? Security purposes, are there any nail files, knives, guns, pepper spray? Like that?
The security here is designed to basically present no opportunity. It may seem that this is a big to-do about nothing, but when you've lost 2 physicians in Pensacola, and if you count the other physician who was killed in Mobile, it's 4 people who've been killed within 50 miles of here. We sure don't want that to happen again.
The incident is all too familiar, and the state of Florida continues to be the site of numerous clinic bombings and arson attacks.
In 1984, on the early morning of June 25th, my telephone rang, and it was the sheriff's department on the line, and there had been a bomb at our clinic. The bomb was placed on my chair in my office. It was only 6 months after the first bombing. I got a phone call. Once again, the clinic had been bombed.
If we have to bomb and torch clinics, so be it. I don't have a problem in the world with that.
As new technologies become available, pro-lifers are embracing them as a means to further spread their ideas. Most major pro-life organizations have websites, such as the American Life League and the National Right to Life Committee. Websites give organizations another way to spread their anti-abortion information, publicize upcoming rallies, collect donations, and post graphic videos. Blogging is also used by pro-life activists as a way to spread the anti-abortion agenda to readers. Real Choice, for example, is a blog with posts about various cases in which women have died from having an abortion. In order to publicize events and organizations, pro-life activists are also using social networking sites such as Facebook, MySpace, and Twitter. These online tools are a quick and easy way to keep followers updated on pro-life happenings while actively recruiting new advocates by spreading pro-life propaganda. In addition to utilizing new technology, pro-lifers are actively looking for new areas in which to recruit followers. For example, many organizations are attempting to attract young people in hopes that they can pass the torch on to them to keep the movement alive and fresh. Rock for Life is an annual event that features pro-life bands, and it is specifically aimed at appealing to young people.
Every day, 115,000 children are dying through abortion. 115,000. That means that 5,000 children would die every hour.
Pro-lifers are also attempting to find new allies in people of color. Special pro-life organizations have been created to give such people their own niche in the movement. By encouraging diversity, pro-lifers are attempting to change their image to convince skeptics that the movement is open-minded and accepting of all people. With the majority of pro-life activists being male, the movement is trying harder than ever to reach out to women by adopting so-called feminist views. Feminists for Life is an organization made up of self-proclaimed feminists who claim to hold a mission of protecting women from abortion. Many pro-life organizations are also speaking out against post-abortion stress syndrome. PASS, though it has not been scientifically proven, consists of a woman feeling adverse emotional effects after having an abortion, such as extreme guilt, depression, and sometimes hostility towards men. By offering services such as post-abortion counseling, the pro-life movement is trying to convey to women that they want to save them from the big bad abortion industry. My final assessment: the pro-choice movement is in trouble. Pro-lifers are crafty strategists who know how to adapt to the changing times. However, there has not been much adapting on the part of pro-choice activists. Regardless, this debate is still hot, and the country remains split.